All right, welcome to the Snyder Report. I am your host, Gary Snyder. My guest tonight, as you can see next to me, is Brad Pitt. Oh, wait, no, that's Greg Hahn. Greg, my friend, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Gary, and you?
I couldn't be better. I'm sitting here talking to you, got a fire going and some A&W zero sugar root beer.
There you go.
Life's good.
Well,
how are you today?
I'm good. I was over in Terre Haute most of today and got back a little while ago, so it was
How's
a
Terre Haute
beautiful
these
day.
days?
Terre Haute's doing well. The mayor over there is just an incredible guy.
Love Brandon. Love Brandon.
Brandon is I can't even tell you what a great client he is, and a wonderful person, and very progressive, and just has a new idea every day. I mean, he's ready to rock and roll at a minute's notice, and he's not bashful about trying out new things. And that's what we were there talking about today. And I think he's a rock star, and he's going to be a huge star in our party.
You know, we've got some up and coming stars. I mean,
oh yeah, we really do.
We've had, man, her name escapes me, the mayor of Clarkstown, Treva Hodges.
Okay, I have not met her.
Or Christmas City, as she likes to call it.
Yeah.
Sharon Tucker up here in Fort Wayne.
Absolutely.
You know, we got some great mayors that are filling that bench. And then, you know, Bo Bai putting on a great campaign so far for Secretary of State. You know, I think things are looking up.
Well, and we have a great young mayor in Evansville.
Yeah.
West Lafayette. I mean, yeah, you can go around the state and we got some really up and coming, wonderful people. Not only wonderful people, but great leaders that are already doing great things for their communities.
Well, Greg, before we start talking a little bit of politics, can you just take a few minutes and tell people a little bit about Greg Hahn? Because you are a stalwart behind the scenes. Maybe out front sometimes, but I don't think a lot of people understand who Greg Hahn is and a little bit about your past, because, you know, I Googled you once and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, I've been blessed. I've had a tremendous amount of unique experiences, I guess you'd say. I was born and raised in Randolph County, Winchester,
Over here by
Indiana. My parents were both from Ohio, and they called us Buck Hoos. I'm dead serious. My dad was a World War II veteran, went through a ton, D-Day, Battle of the Bulge, Remagen Bridge, on and on. I could Bastogne,
What was
on
he?
and on and on.
Unit was he with? Do you remember?
Yeah, he was with the 78th Division, and then was transferred over to the 3rd under Patton at the Battle of the Bulge, and then stayed over with as part of the occupying force, and was on Patton's staff. Actually, he went in as corporal or private, and then worked his all the way up to lieutenant. Got appointed to go to West Point by Patton. He was the only guy on the staff that was not a West Point grad, and he really wanted to go to West Point. But my mother was a nurse. She graduated from Reed Memorial Hospital, part of Earlham College, and he wrote her a letter and told her about his appointment. And he said, but the only thing is, you can't be married and and be a cadet at West Point. And my mom said, I've waited 4 years and I'm not waiting any longer. Have a great life.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So my dad passed up West Point. In fact, I am wearing his ring that he was given to him by the staff at Patton's staff as his West Point ring.
Can we see it? I'd love to see it.
Can you see
it?
Up
a little more. Keep going up a little more. There we go. Wow.
Oh, there.
That is
Beautiful
something
ring.
else. Yes, it is.
So he went through a number of big time combats, came back, and like a lot of World War II vets, had some issues.
Yeah.
We never knew what it was until I heard the word uh,
PTSD,
what's it called? Yeah,
post-traumatic stress disorder.
post-traumatic syndrome. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
my
did not wanna be around people. Uh, he was very much to himself. He wanted to farm, and, he tried to go back to college. He'd been at Earlham College for about a year or so before he got drafted right after Pearl Harbor, and, he just couldn't do it. He went to Miami of Ohio for about a semester and just couldn't do it, couldn't concentrate, and so then they moved over to Winchester and
okay.
started farming. So I grew up there. We lived in we still have the farm, a house built in 1851. It had, no electricity, no running water, nothing.
Still there,
And
huh?
so still there, and, so I grew up with an outhouse till I was about 12. Great experience. Took our people say, "Well, what'd you do about taking a bath?" I said, "Well, we pumped water on a pump out on the back porch, and, my mom heated the water up, and we took a bath once a week, whether we needed it or not in the wintertime."
And as fast as you could.
Yeah, right. Uh, so we grew up. I mean, my dad had no equipment, he had nothing. We rented the farm until for like 48 probably to 62, and then he had saved enough money to buy it.
Okay.
300 acres, and in fact, when we first started, he didn't own a tractor. He didn't have any equipment, so he borrowed a disc and he disc with the car.
A car.
Yeah, they had an Oldsmobile, and my dad used it to disc with. And finally, one of the neighbors came down one day and said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know how else to do it. I don't have a tractor." So the guy started loaning him a tractor. And so anyway, so we had it pretty rough. I mean, we never went to the grocery store where everything we had was from the garden and we had butchered our own cattle, our own hogs.
Okay.
My grandmother, my dad's mom lived with us from the time I was pretty much born till I was 12 or 13. And so she was an old Dutch German, and we made everything. I mean, you name it, we made it.
Okay.
And very rarely went to the grocery store, but learned hard work, and we had long days, but we had a great family. I got a younger brother and a younger sister. So I'm the
Okay.
oldest. And then
How's it being the oldest? Because I'm the oldest too.
well, I think you always feel responsible for everybody else. The way I felt, dad always leaned on me, even though, I mean, like I said, I started out in the fields at 4 or 5, picking up rocks, pulling weeds, whatever we
Yeah.
had to do. Mowed, we had about our house sat on or sits on about an acre and a half. And then right across the road is the barnyard, and it's about another 2 acres. And my main job, besides everything else, feeding the cattle and the pigs and on and on and on, was mowing the yard with a hand mower. One of those not a power
Mhm.
mower.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so
The
that
the
was
blades spin as the wheels turn.
exactly. And so I had to really keep up with that because, as you know, if you let the grass get a little too high, it's really a
Oh, yeah.
problem. So, I was blessed to be I was a pretty big kid. I was probably close to being almost full grown when I was a freshman or sophomore in high school, and I was, like, I don't know, 5'10", 5'11", weighed about 185. And football and baseball, I played all basketball, played them all,
Mhm.
but, football was by far my favorite, and I was blessed, I got to end up getting a full ride to college to play football, and I wanted to play baseball too, but they didn't want me to do that. And I was on the Indiana All-Star team. I made All-State and
What
in
positions
all
you
that
play?
stuff. In high school, I played running back and linebacker,
Okay.
and then in college, I played a little offense, not too much, running back once in a while. I played some wide receiver because I was pretty fast, but most of the time I played free safety.
Strong safety here, so
Yep, yep. I
now
knew
where'd
you
you go to
played
school?
University of Evansville.
Okay.
I actually signed at Florida State, but my parents said, "If you go down there, we're never gonna see you because we can't afford to bring you back and forth." So, and the first time I went to Evansville, it was a 14-hour bus ride when I went down
Wow.
there for a recruiting trip. But there were,
Oh,
13 guys that went off of the Indiana All-Star team to Evansville. Our coach was a two-time All-American at Michigan, Mr. Rose Bowl, and we were his first recruiting class. And we played
okay.
like you did in college. I mean, we probably played that like Mid-America conference level.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So you go to college, you play football, and I don't know about you, but younger me never counted on there being an older me. So I'm paying the price now.
oh,
Matter of fact, I have shoulder surgery on Wednesday. So depending on when everyone's watching this, probably be in a sling for about a week because everything gets torn up in
oh
football.
my God. I mean, people don't know, you're exactly right. I had my knee torn up twice. I had to have total knee rebuilt. I
Hmm.
broke my arm. I had a floating kidney. I can't even tell you how many stitches I have in my face. I probably broke almost every finger,
Yeah.
most of my toes. And you're right. When I turned, I'll tell you, I was having my knee would just finally. I mean, I ran the mini marathon several times, and it was a mess. And so I went in to see my orthopedic surgeon, Doctor Herr, and I'll never forget it. He says, he said, "You and I are going to become very good friends." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Oh yeah." He said, "This is just the start." And so I had a knee replacement done, and then within the next, let's see, I was probably 50 something. The next 10 to 12 years, I had 13 operations.
Wow.
I had both hips replaced. The worst one I had though is I had to have my neck fused,
Ooh.
and that was from. I mean, he would tell me everything. He said, "This is what's going to happen." I
Right.
mean, he was right on it. And he said, "Yeah, your neck is a mess." And I started losing all the feeling in my hands and my arm, and my fifth and sixth vertebrae had collapsed. And he said that was from all the tackling you did when you played, we played the same time. They always tackle what you see, and so you would try to bury your head in the guy's stomach or
Hmm.
unfortunately in his knees sometimes.
It's a big I don't think people realize until they've played a Division I college or someone
Yeah.
like Evansville. My very first practice, I tackled someone. I had gloves on, and something was wrong with my hand. I didn't know what, and so I ran over to the trainer, and he took the glove off, and I had dislocated two knuckles and my pinky.
Oh, yeah.
And and I'm like, and he goes, "This might sting a little."
Yeah.
And he pops those back in, he puts my glove on, tapes them up, and sends me back out to practice and said, "Come and see me after practice." And I'm like, "Holy shit!" Because if I'm in high school, I'm out for like 3 weeks. I'm not
Yeah.
doing crap. And they're sending you right back out to practice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was like same thing. I mean, I played I don't even know how many times I played, they give you a shot or something.
The shot in the shoulder was the worst.
Yeah, I never it's funny because I haven't had any shoulder, knock on wood.
Yeah,
I'm 76, and yet I haven't had any shoulder problems at all.
this will
It's
be
all been
my
in my fingers are, you know, they're all messed up, but and of course I told you about my neck and stuff, but you know what though? People ask me, "Would you do that again?" I said, "Absolutely." Those were my best friends, fraternity brothers. I'm still friends with a lot of them.
you
You know how it is. You really formulate a brotherhood, and I had a bunch of good guys I played with.
I would do it again. I would do it again, but I talked my son out of it.
Yeah, I didn't.
Or
Neither one of my kids played.
he came to me, he wanted to play football his freshman year, and he comes to me and he tells me, and I'm like, "All right, I'll work with you." He goes, "I wanna play defense." And so he goes and he has a couple practices his freshman year, and he comes home one day, I pick him up, and he's like, "Dad, how do you tackle those people that are way bigger than you?" And I said, "Well, sometimes you just have to say, 'This is gonna hurt a lot.'" And he
Yeah.
goes he goes, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." And
Yeah.
that was it. He picked
No,
up a guitar.
yeah, yeah, both of mine played tennis.
Still
My oldest son actually ended up playing rugby in college
did
because
he?
he always wanted to play a team sport, and so he played in his senior year at North Central, and they won the national championship in, high school rugby, and so the IU coach called him, and he was going to IU and said, "Hey, we'd like for you to try out for the rugby team," and they were in the top 4 or 5 2 of the 4
Wow.
years he was there.
Well, what'd you do after college? Obviously went to law school.
I went to law school. I had no idea what law school was about. I think I knew one lawyer, my parents' lawyer that went to church with us. Um, and so yeah, I was in pre-law, and after the first semester at Evansville, I went in to see, we all had an assigned mentor and
Mhm.
counselor. And I went in to sign. He says, "Hey Greg," he said, "I'm looking at your grades here, and it says you want to be a lawyer." And I said, "Yeah. I'd like to, and that's what I'm planning on doing." He goes, "Well, you've got a 2.4." And I go, "Yeah." I said, I got a C, didn't I?" He goes, "Yeah, but that's not gonna get you into law school." Of
No.
course, this was right in the middle of the Vietnam War, '67. This is when graduated from high school.
Yeah.
And I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You have to have like a 3.4 or 3.5 to get into law school." I said, "You gotta be kidding me." And school had never been very important to me, to be honest. It was all sports. And he said, "So you're going to have to get almost a 4 point every semester from here on out." And I did.
Wow.
I just,
It's funny because my wife's cousin is about your age, and my dad was drafted into Vietnam, and my
mm,
wife's cousin, he went to Purdue and went through Purdue, and he was in a rock band, a pretty successful one, opened up for REO Speedwagon and some other groups.
oh,
And
wow. Yeah.
he goes, "I got through in 4 years." And I'm like, "Well, how'd you get through in 4 years?" He said, "Because if you fell behind any time, you went into the lottery." And
Yeah.
I didn't want that.
Well, now in '69, they did the lottery. And I mean, that was an event that night. They rolled the ping pong balls, and then, they had the dates on them. And if you were from 1 to 50, they told you're to report immediately. And I'm sitting there, the whole fraternity house, about 120 of us. And then the next, 50 to 100, you're going to get called in for your physical and all that stuff. 100 to 150, maybe. And then 150 up, we'll let you know.
Mhm.
And mine was 327.
Wow.
Now, I don't think I would have passed the physical anyway as it ended up with all that stuff I had.
You know,
But anyway,
one of the most surreal things I've ever done in my life. My stepdad could not go with her to her 50th high school reunion in Kokomo.
mm,
So I took her, and they had 2 or 3 tables set out, and they were just empty chairs with names. And they would do like a roll call, and the amount of working class kids that were not there because they died in Vietnam from Kokomo,
mhm.
Indiana was just a very surreal moment for me.
What year did she graduate?
Well, she's 20 years older than me. Late 60s, early 70s. I know. Well,
So we're about the same age.
my dad went to Vietnam he was drafted in 67 and went in 68.
Okay,
I
well,
was born while he was over there.
yeah, well, I'm probably the same age as your mom then.
Yeah, she was born in 49.
Yeah, I was born in '49.
Yeah, that was one of the most surreal things I've ever done.
I'm trying to think. I played in the All-Star game. There was a guy from Kokomo, a big fullback that went to Ball State. I can't think, I want to say like Brumley,
Mhm.
big dude. He and I were in the same, he went to
Okay.
Ball State and I went to him, but we played against each other,
Okay.
in college.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've now had 4 of my really good friends die of Agent Orange in the last year and a half that served in
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Yeah. My dad, we were in the process of getting him tested and all that when he passed away. He was only 59.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
now and my brothers have had some health issue. I had a brother that died of cancer back in 2020. He was 50 years old at the time, died of lung cancer and did not smoke a day in his life. And my other brother, he's had a few health issues and I've been pretty fortunate, but I was born before he went. They weren't.
Huh.
So, it's you'll never know because, the government doesn't
No.
want that out there.
Well, I'll tell you, Gary, my dad was on the draft board in Randolph County,
Mhm.
and he was so upset with how these kids that didn't go to college were being drafted. This is before the lottery.
Right.
And he would come home and say, "This isn't right. These kids that can't go to college, don't have the money, or they just want to work at a factory or something, are all getting drafted and all getting torn up." He said, "I've been through all this. I know what they're going through." And he said, "It isn't fair what's going on." And he wrote letters to Congress and all over the place saying, "We got to change it. This isn't fair that all these kids are going and the other kids that get a buy because they get a student uh uh oh, what do you deferment.
Or have a rich father that does
It
real
puts them in the
estate in New
National
York.
Guard." Yeah, right.
So, can you
Anyway,
hold for a quick break, Greg?
absolutely.
You're listening to the Snyder Report. I'm your host, Gary Snyder. We'll be right back.
Washington politicians came to Indiana to get us to cheat and redraw our legislative maps. They want you to spend millions so they can rig the system and silence your voice. Hoosiers play fair. We don't need their meddling. We need our elected officials focusing on what we need most, making our lives better, lowering taxes, and bringing down the cost of energy and groceries. So tell your legislators, don't let Washington insiders rig our elections. Solve real problems and earn our votes.
All right, this is the part of the Snyder Report where we thank our sponsors, and we have a growing list. So let's start with Robin Winston. Robin has been there when we first sent out our first email, 147 subscribers. We're now over 108,000. So thank you, Robin Winston, and helping us get the podcast going in the right direction. Next up is our good friend, former Congresswoman Jill Long Thompson. Her book, Across the Aisle, Why Bipartisanship Works for America. Get that anywhere you buy your books. Also, former two-term governor, two-term U.S. Senator Evan Bayh. Evan has been a sponsor of the newsletter, now jumps on board with the podcast. Congressman Andre Carson. Congressman Carson has been there from the start. We're glad to have him over here on the newsletter now. He needs your help to win re-election next year. So make sure you support Congressman Carson. Next up, State Representative Cherish Pryor. Cherish has been there from the start on the newsletter, joining us on the podcast now. So is State Senator Greg Taylor. I want to thank Senator Taylor for all of his support through the years. Next, we have a couple of new sponsors. First up is Indiana Citizen. You want to check out their new project, One Heartbeat Away. Do Christian nationalists have an agenda for Indiana? All you have to do is look at the lieutenant governorship and you can see right away that they do. So thank you, Indiana Citizen. Next up is Jump Laundry. You can visit them at jumplaundry.com. They have home pickup. They do your dry cleaning, wash and fold with, I might add, no judgments, and next day service. So if you're in a crunch for time, You don't want to do your own laundry, get a hold of Jump Laundry at jumplaundry.com or at 317-740-5011, and they will take care of all of your laundry needs. All right, welcome back to the Snyder Report. I am Gary Snyder. He is not. He is Greg Hahn. Greg, thanks for holding. So you go to college, you go to law school, and when I Googled you way back in the day, and by the way, thank you very much. You help us put out the newsletter. You help us do this podcast. So, we appreciate you a lot.
Well, thank you. You do a great job, and it's easy to support you.
Well, thank you. So when I Googled you, well, first tell us where'd you go to law school?
I went to IU McKinney.
Okay.
Here in Indianapolis.
So I Googled you way back in the day because, I like to know who's helping us out. And one of the things that really shocked me, if you will, was here I am talking to this guy named Greg Hahn, attorney extraordinaire from Indianapolis, and I see your name and it's associated with the SALT II nuclear missile treaties.
Right.
Can you tell us a little about that?
Couple things happened. Number one,
how'd you work your way to that? That would be
well,
my first
I was going
question.
to tell you. So
I should just shut up then.
I got active in Jimmy Carter's campaign.
Okay.
And a guy named Bob McKinney, who our law school is named after, and one of my partners, the McKinney and Bose McKinney, was Jimmy Carter's roommate at Annapolis. And Bob kind of took me under his wing. And so when Carter came to Indianapolis or Indiana, Bob would ask me to go. And I did. And then another guy named Bill Schreiber was the county chairman, and he became very close with Carter. So there were several opportunities that came up, and one of them was the SALT II treaty committees. And Bob called me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this?" Said, "You'll have to go out to Washington some, and it'll be a tremendous experience for you." And, I sat in the back, I wasn't at the table. I was there. And then after we signed it, I got invited to Camp David for the signing and all that stuff, and met a lot. I met a ton of people through that whole thing that really helped me down the road. Teddy Kennedy was one of them. I became very good friends with him, and on and on and on. So
that had to be just surreal. I mean, sitting in those rooms when nuclear Armageddon is being negotiated.
Yeah, it was. I've still got pictures. And Lee Hamilton was another guy that kind of helped me, and Andy Jacobs, both, helped me. And I guess they just wanted some younger people there too, rather than just the political guys. And let's see, I was treasurer of the Marion County party. I can't remember the dates on that, but I ran for attorney general twice, and I may have been in between doing that too. I ran in 80 and 84. So,
and didn't quite make it, right?
No, they used to call me the AAG, almost attorney general.
Well, I guess that's better than what some people could call you, I guess.
Yeah, right. But I'll tell you one thing, I got to know the state of Indiana really well. And that's come back several times as my career's moved along, where, I helped write the gaming statute, 93 or 4, somewhere in there. And so a lot of those people that helped me when I ran for attorney general are now mayors, city councilmen, city attorneys. And so I got hired, I think, on 7 different riverboat deals because I knew everybody.
Yeah.
And, that you never know what's going to happen. I mean, it's like one thing just kind of leads to another. And I mean, that's kind of the way that my life has been, actually. One door opens and that opens another door, and you just got to, I've been blessed beyond measure. And those have led to a lot of, different experiences.
When you look back at your political career, compare politics from the past to where we are now, both with Trump and what he's doing, and even here in Indiana where they're trying to redistrict. We've got some of the worst people that have ever been elected. And your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I will tell you that I was a lobbyist for years
Mhm.
and worked at the state house representing different organizations for a long time. Um, I probably had as many or more Republican friends than I had Democrats, to be quite honest with you.
Mhm.
I got along with everybody. I always considered it a round world. You know, when I started in 74, 75, 76, Republicans had everything. It was pretty much like we are right now. But I was good friends with a lot of those guys. I never, as compared to now, where it's so acrimonious. I mean, I don't know. And as you know from reading my resume and stuff, I represented Trump for 12 years.
Mhm.
So I mean, I knew him very well, um, and that was an experience. But yeah, it's totally different. I still have a lot of Republican friends, so
Oh,
you
I do
know,
too. I get calls saying,
yeah.
"Hey, I loved your interview with this person or that person."
And there's a lot of great guys. It's just the climate is so negative, and people are so afraid, and for good reason. I mean, there's been a lot of, he's attacking the governor and Bray and everybody else right now. And I mean, I've known the Bray family for 3 generations. Wonderful people. I actually was the campaign manager for Dave Evans in '74 when he beat Bill Bray, who had been a congressman for 24 years.
Huh.
And when we won, Congressman Bray called me and asked me to come down to his office in Martinsville, and I went down there, and he said, "Greg," he said, I was ready to retire anyway, so you kind of did me a favor." But he said, "I would really appreciate it if you would keep," and he gave me a list of people on his staff, and he said, "These are really good people. They're good, constituent folks that help people out." And he said, and some of them are close to retirement. "I'd really appreciate if you would keep them on the staff until they're ready to leave or retire." And I said, "I don't think that's a problem. I mean, nobody thought we were going to win. So it's not like we got a bunch of people standing around, especially in that district." And then I met his son and now his grandson, who's you know, President pro tem of the Senate. And they're great people. And, every time I had a case down there, I would hire them as my local counsel. And, they're, so, I mean, I could go all over the state and give you stories pretty much, the same thing.
Let me ask you this because the is it Roderick Bray? Is that his name?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. The Senate pro tem right now.
Right.
Did it surprise you at all when he came out and said, "We don't have the votes, we're not gonna do redistricting here in Indiana," and went
No,
against the governor?
no, did not.
Why
I
not?
think well, because I think he's always called it the way he sees it. I've had some issues that he and I have discussed, and I'm the chair of Indianapolis Mass Transit Authority, and for several years in a row, there were bills, submitted to do away with Indigo and to take it over, shut it down, all the above. And he was very open to discussions about what does Indigo do, and I walked him through all that, and he was always willing to listen. Now he never he wouldn't make a commitment on yes or no, but at least he
Right.
was willing to sit down and talk. And he's just a very honorable guy. And I'll tell you, Holcomb was the same way. I mean, I got to know him pretty well too. And same thing. You could always talk to him. You may disagree. I may disagree with him.
I've actually interviewed Eric Holcomb on my radio
Yeah,
show back in the
very,
day.
very good guy. Very outstanding. I think. I thought he was a good governor. Um, so
Do you think that redistricting, mid-cycle redistricting, do you think it's really dead, or do you think this thing, because like
I think
anything General Assembly, it can come back to life at any point?
I think it is. I mean, just from the guys I've talked to, on both sides of the aisle. They said from day one it wasn't going to pass. And I think it might pass the House, but the Senate, the problem is nobody knows what these districts are going to look like. And when you start looking around the edges of Marion County, you've got a lot of purple area that could go either way. And some of these guys their seats would be in jeopardy. Republicans. I mean, but nobody knows because nobody's ever seen how they want to do it. And I think, you know, and I think there's also the fairness issue. You've looked at the polls like I have. 72% of the people don't want redistricting. And in this climate, especially after the election results a couple weeks ago, I think people are like, "Whoa, this stuff we're doing is not going over." And I don't think they would add fuel to the fire.
I'm not, I'm gonna kind of, I guess, be honest here.
Yeah.
I solicited a few questions from people on what I should ask you. And our good friend, I'm not going to say his name, Robin Winston,
Yeah.
but he said, I would love you to ask him about the attorney crisis that we have in the state of Indiana, the lack of attorneys, public defenders,
Yeah.
is it going to be a point to where, we can even get people public defenders? So your thoughts on that as we face an lack of attorneys? I never thought I'd say that,
Yeah.
but
Same thing
here in
with
Indiana.
doctors too. I
Yeah.
mean, you got the same problem on the physician side.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have to borrow. I was fortunate enough; I had a full ride to college, and I didn't have to borrow any money for undergrad. And I had the first year of law school. My dad was a farmer, and I got a loan from the what was it called? Anyways, Farmers Association that I didn't have to pay no interest until I graduated. My first year law school cost $6,000. That's all I had to borrow.
Wow.
And I was fortunate enough to get a clerkship with a local judge, and I did that for 2 years. And so I had enough money to pay my way through law school, and I only had 6 grand of debt. Well, now you got guys coming, and I use guys generically, guys and girls coming out of school with $100,000 to $200,000.
Easily.
Yeah, from student debt, and and then to be a public defender, you're making I think 40 some thousand a year.
That's it, huh?
I mean, I think that's what it is. Say, the prosecutor staff is not much better. Now, if you get into some of the upper levels, you're going to make more money, but
Right.
it's tough. And then you got to, you're paying a student loan, you're trying to settle down and have a family and all that. And so, unless you've got a wife that's got a real good job, you're really stressed. And then you go out to these rural counties, and they don't even have enough money to pay you hardly. I mean, I know that like in Randolph County where I'm from, and then they got public defenders handling, if you should be handling 30 or 40 cases, they're handling 100. It's, how can you do that? So I don't know what they're going to do. I know they're talking about having being able to get a degree that's not a law degree, but it's be like somewhere between a paralegal and a lawyer,
hmm
like a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
And then having them go out into be recruited. And they're also trying to recruit retired lawyers now. I mean, I've had several people call me and say, "Hey, are you retired?" And I go, "No, I'm not." And they said, "Well, we're trying to find some guys that would volunteer. The state bar is doing it, and some other organizations just trying to find people that don't want to work full time or don't need to work full time and really don't even need to be paid if they'd be willing to help out in some of these rural counties." So, yeah, it's almost it probably is a crisis.
Any Do you see it ending anytime soon?
I don't think so. I think it's going to get worse. I mean, these with all that's going on with the economy and the rural areas, they're predicting more farm bankruptcies in the next 12 to 18 months than any time in history. And we have a pretty big ag practice at Bose McKinney, And we're seeing guys that have farmed for 6, 7 generations, and I don't know how they don't know how they're going to make it between, the price of equipment's gone up 40 and 50% with these tariffs. Price of grain has gone down. Cattle are almost non-existent because they can't
Well,
afford to feed them.
Well, it's because they're bringing them across the border when they were sneaking in.
No, the cattle?
Yeah, that's what Treasury Secretary Bassett said.
You are kidding me.
No, they're bringing them across the border. That's why beef costs so much, because the illegals were bringing them in with them when they snuck across the border.
Okay. Hadn't heard that one.
When you've been involved in Democrat politics for a long time.
Right.
Where do you see the Democrat Party now in Indiana? Because as someone who lives and breathes it every day, like I do, both for podcasts and the newsletter and myriad of other things, there seems to be, I'm not going to say a split like there is in the Republican Party, but there seems to be, a progressive wing that is either my way or the highway, and I'm not going to say a moderate wing, but I'm just going to say a wing that's not as progressive as the others. And there seems to be, a lot of infighting right now that if you want to win, we don't need.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen that much of that in my travels. And I represent about 40 cities and probably 20 some counties in different capacities of, doing bond work and ton of
Right.
other stuff. And I haven't really run into that too much. I think there's definitely a group that feel like the Democrat Party is not aggressive enough. Um, but I think that's been true for as long as I've been around. There's always a group that wants to you know, do more, be more aggressive. I think in Indiana, we're more of a middle of the road. Indiana's been Republican forever. I mean, you go all the way back to the founding of the state, and the Goodriches. The Goodriches are from Winchester. We've had I don't know how many president that have all been Republicans. So I think it's a conservative state, no matter how you slice it. And I think the only way we're going to win in Indiana is like the candidates that we've had have been Frank O'Bannon and Kernan and Evan, and you
Joe
can go
Donnelly.
Birch by Joe Donnelly, on and on and on, have been conservative Democrats, I guess you would call, or like Barron Hill, or I could name off a bunch of them.
How cool was that and from my point of view, I had Evan By and Joe Donnelly on the same show.
I watched it. Yeah.
I mean, that was something else to see. Now, some people may call it, well, they're has-beens or whatever, but they were our last, he was a 2-term governor. He was a 2-term U.S. senator. He was a congressman. He was a U.S. senator. He was the ambassador to the Vatican. And to say that their points of view don't matter anymore, to me, I thought, these people don't know what the hell they're talking about.
No, Evan By has more knowledge and experience than 20 I don't know him anybody else. Joe Donnelly. And Joe and I'm real good friends with Evan, real good friends with Joe. We went over to Rome twice to visit Joe while he was there. Incredible.
I had lunch with you right after you got back from work.
Yeah, right. And and I will tell you, the Pope, obviously he didn't tell me, but other people that were very involved with it told me that Joe Donnelly was probably one of his, if not favorite people. As you probably know, that the last 2 or 3 years of Pope Francis' life, Joe went with him to every big meeting. I mean, on the the G7 and I can go on and on, but he traveled with him extensively.
It was funny. My daughter and my wife went to Italy over the summer while I was stuck back here working. Thanks, Pepper. But, yeah, I called Joe and he gave me a list of places that they needed to go and places where they needed to eat, and I thought
Yeah.
that was very nice of him.
Yeah, it was really interesting because he always had a huge detail with him.
Uh-huh.
And so my wife was asking, "Joe, why do you have all these? You have 3 cars, they're all loaded with people with machine guns and, on and on and on." He goes, "Well, I am the number 1 target for every terrorist group in the world.
Oh,
I'm an
jeez.
American and I represent." Well, he was the acting ambassador for Italy too.
Yeah.
And I'm the you know, ambassador to the Vatican. And, I mean, it was unbelievable. We went to his house. I mean, there were army trucks everywhere. We thought they were for something else. He goes, "No, those are for me."
Uh, I had Andy Brashear on my show back over the
Right,
summer,
right,
and he said something to me that kinda stuck, and, well, he said a couple things, but number 1, it's about affordability, it's about helping people when they get from the time they get up to the time they go to bed to make sure that they helping them have a better life.
right.
And number 2, we gotta stop talking to them like we are college professors and they are high school dropouts. Um, your thoughts on that? How right is he there?
Oh, I think he's absolutely right, and he's been proven right. Um, Robin got me involved the first time he ran, and we did a couple fundraisers for him
Mhm.
in Indianapolis, and then I helped with a few down in Kentucky and a couple other places. And then the next time he ran, we were even more involved. And he's the real deal. Anytime you could run as a Democrat in Kentucky, which went 70 some percent for Trump, and he won, is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But that's why, because he goes out and he hits every
Maybe
part of
pay
the
attention
state.
to him a little bit.
Absolutely, he's a tremendous guy. And he's just a down home, and he doesn't talk over you, he talks to you. I think he's gotta be one of the top candidates for our party this next time around. I mean, I think right now we got 3 or 4 people that are all very, very qualified, and he has to be right at the top of the list, in my humble
You would
opinion.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know him really well. I mean, we've had a couple things down there. Man, write in, get to see him, he doesn't forget who you are.
He was yeah, it was one of the really enjoyed my interview with him.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanna cover before we let you run?
No, I just think that I think we do have it's a round world, and everything goes in cycles. I've seen it now over my 70 some years. Uh, we were in power. We had the governor's office for 24 years. We've been in and out of the House. Having the House. Senate's a whole
Mhm.
little different story. But I think it'll happen again. I think you know, people sometimes get, you know, if one party has too much power, they end up abusing it. And it happens on both sides.
That pendulum
Uh,
swings back and
it,
forth,
it
doesn't it?
does. It does. And I think that Democrats will be back uh, in control and maybe in 26. I mean, the way these elections went and all the polls I'm seeing are just unbelievable,
Well,
especially
that
when
was
you
ki
look at like Mississippi had 13 Democrats elected to get out of the super minority.
yeah.
Georgia had, for the first time in 30 or 40 years, had 3 commissioners elected to the utility board. I mean, it's the stuff going down the line that you look at and go, wow. Pennsylvania.
Every county in Virginia swung
Yeah.
blue. Everyone.
Right. Right.
I'm
And
watching news shows leading up to the election. New Jersey is gonna be probably a late night call, if that. Virginia's closing, and man, I was in bed by 10.
I know. Well, I mean, all the polls that I saw, and I was helping both of those women run,
Mhm.
and they were predicting that, what's her name, was going to win Virginia by,
Bamberger.
yeah,
Bamberger?
right. Yeah, unbelievable back. She has an unbelievable back. Both of them do.
They both
But
do. CIA agents flew
I know,
helicopters.
right? Fighter pilot. I mean, it's like wow.
I mean, I'm
But I know, but that's here's the thing. It's interesting. I can't tell you.
I
I
do a
mean,
newsletter. That's it. It's amazing.
but how many veterans are running for office in 26 as Democrats? I've never seen so many.
Mhm.
In fact, I got a thing yesterday from a guy in Michigan. He will be the first Navy SEAL to ever run as a Democrat for Congress.
I think we're actually gonna have him on the show at some point. I've
Yeah,
been in contact.
it's Mass Mesca.
Mhm.
Yeah, and his background's unbelievable. But you just keep seeing these people popping up, popping up. I mean, I probably get 8 or 9 requests a day from different congressional candidates all over the country.
Mhm.
And that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to help all over the United States. And the candidates are I mean, just blow your mind what kind of candidates are coming out and running. I mean, just off the chart people.
And we got some here I mean,
Oh, yeah. I met Mary Allen,
yep, down in
Evansville. I had lunch with her the other day, and she's a veteran, Army. I mean, again, the candidates that are coming out are just strong. So
Greg Hahn, thank you for your time.
thank you, Gary. Enjoy always talking to you, and thanks for doing what you're doing, man.
Well, I appreciate your support. We appreciate you and everything you do. I'm Gary Snyder. He is not. He is Greg Hahn. This is the Snyder Report. We are out.